Alright, it has been a little bit since I gave my first impressions on Arknights Endfield, and since then I have learned a lot about the game, and most importantly, a lot about the factory in it. When I went into Arknights Endfield, I really didn't expect to have as much fun with the factory as I have so far, but it really did end up surprising me, and it ended up being one of the most unique parts of the game that sets it apart from pretty much every other gacha on the market. There is so much to talk about with the factory, from how to do different setups, what you can learn from doing those setups, what you can do with those setups, and so much more. So today, I kind of just wanted to go through all the different parts of it that I've experienced so far and, just give my thoughts on it. Before that though, I do have to mention that this video is sponsored by Arknights Endfield, so thanks a bunch to them for that. Despite that though, it's also worth mentioning that I have full creative freedom to say whatever I want in this video. I am really enjoying the factory gameplay right now, and I've only continued to enjoy it since this video was initially recorded. To preface, I do have to say that I am technically not all that far into the factory. There are actually a lot of different materials that I either don't have access to or haven't even seen in the game yet, but despite that, there is still so many different things that you can do with it. I mean, literally last night, I spent 6 hours just messing with my setup and experiencing all the different things it had to offer at the part of the game that I'm at now, instead of actually progressing through the game and doing the story. Something that I've learned so far is that the factory is really, genuinely, the bread and butter of this game. And honestly, it really reminds me a lot of modded Minecraft, and that is really a good thing in my eyes. For me personally, I have so much experience with modded Minecraft, from the basic mod packs that, just add a few enemies, all the way up to the ones that have sprawling tech factories that you have to set up and stuff like that. And this is really giving me those same vibes for a lot of different reasons. So, for one, I think it's worth mentioning that if you are someone that really likes the number go up feeling in these kinds of games, the factory has you covered in spades. Because not only do you have to set up factories to actually produce things, you also need to set up resource gathering stations to collect those things. So you can see here, I've got a bunch of different materials all nearing the cap of what you can collect, and that is just really, at least for me, something that just fires the neurons in my brain. Like, to go back to the Minecraft thing I was talking about, I was someone that in modded Minecraft, when you could collect a resource that only required, just a little bit of it, I would create like giant vats or tanks or resource gathering spots just to collect as much of that as I possibly could. And like I said with this game, it really does have those same vibes. It kind of tickles the brain a little bit where, not only do you get the number go up feeling, but then you also get to spend that number go up feeling by doing things in the actual factory. And that is where I can talk about the next part of this, which is actually what you do in the factory. So you might be looking at what I'm looking at here and being a little bit overwhelmed, right? You've got a seed picking unit, a planting unit, different shredding units, protocol stashes, I don't know what's over here, refining units, there's depot unloaders, all this kinds of different things. But at the end of the day, all of this stuff is just used to progress you through the game. And honestly, each of these different machines all have a separate purpose that help you progress that goal. If I go into my setup here and I interact with, let's say, the packaging unit, I can go in here, I can click on the recipes, and it tells me that I can use industrial explosives, which is used for overworld exploration, or I can make batteries, which is used to further power your base. If I go over here to a gearing unit, this is making me amethyst components that I can use to make low tier gear, or later down the line, once I unlock more, I'll be able to make higher tier gear. If I go over here to a seed picking unit, this is picking different seeds, currently acatine, that I can use to then convert into the actual plant acatine, which can then be converted all the way back into a shredding unit, which is making me acatine powder, which you can see is used for those explosives that I mentioned earlier. So basically what I'm saying is that all the different parts of the factory seamlessly connect with each other, to the point where, like, as long as you're collecting all your resources and you're feeding them into your different machines and stuff like that, there is really so many different things that you can do to just help you progress in the game, right? Like I said, with the acatine powder that lets you create exploding barrels and stuff like that, you literally use that to explore the map. So for example, down here, you can't access this entire plateau if you don't have exploding barrels that you have crafted yourself. And at least personally, I find that really, really cool, because not only are you using your factory to create your gear or to just produce materials and stuff like that, but you're also using it literally to develop and explore your world. And that is something that is super unique that you really don't see pretty much in any other gacha game. At least personally, I have had so much fun just exploring what the factory has to offer, from all the different machines to what you can do with it and all that. And I think the reason that I've enjoyed it so much is that I've enjoyed it through experiencing it on my own. This is something that I think is really, really important as you're going into this game. Both the game and other players are going to try to convince you not to interact with the factory, right? Like with the game, it tells you exactly what to do through all the different tutorials that this game has to offer. Like these are in-depth tutorials, but the tutorials literally say, word for word, put this here, click this thing, and if you don't do it exactly right, then you fail the tutorial. And then players, on the other hand, are going to say, well, screw setting up your own factory, just use the blueprint that I made for you. But genuinely, really, I have to say that if you don't experience the factory on your own by literally just placing down a machine, for example, a refining unit, going into the refining unit and seeing what recipes you have, clicking on the different things and seeing what you can make from them, and seeing how you can make them, then you are going to have a significantly worse time with the factory. And again, I truly do hope that each and every one of you watching this video actually go out of your way to experience what the factory and the different machines have in it to offer. All in all, what I'm really trying to say is that experimenting with the different systems the game has is extremely important. Please do not be a sheep that just follows what the game tells you to do or what another player tells you to do through their blueprint. Like, factories are messy. This entire setup that I have here, this is a complete mess. Like, this is not efficient. I guarantee you if you showed this to someone that is farther along in the game with me, they would just cringe internally at how messy this is, and probably all the machines that I don't need and stuff like that. But with that said, it works for me. Like, as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm just slowly racking up on all these different materials, right? I have all this ore from mining in the world. I have the buck flour from creating in my seed picking plant. I'm collecting origin crust and iridium powder and carbon and amethyst components and amethyst parts and all of that, specifically just by experimenting with the game, being like, oh, that would be cool to build, and then putting it together on my own. And now going forward into the future, when I come back and I want to make this mess a lot cleaner than it actually is, then I know how I want to set up my factory in the future. Like, a great example of that is this right here. This is a protocol stash. And what this lets me do is that I can connect any machine I want from anywhere on my, grid here into a protocol stash, and that lets me store things in my massive base here at the center, right? So if I were to take out this originium powder, the originium powder that's stored up here just waiting to go in would instantly fill that, right? And if I didn't experiment and learn that, then I just really wouldn't have known that the basic base you have here actually has more than, 6 output slots and input slots and all that other kind of stuff. And the same can be said for the depot unloaded. This takes stuff out of the depot. Really, even though this is a mess, something that I think can't be denied, and this is true for everyone that creates their own factory, is that creativity is going to be king. No matter what, despite the fact that all of this stuff is a complete mess, what you cannot say is that this isn't personalized to me. Like, if you asked me to tell you how am I making my amethyst tubes, I would be able to point out exactly where in this factory that I am making it, because I know in my head that that is where I set it up to craft. Whereas if I just set up a blueprint and copied someone, who the hell knows where it's going to be? So really, again, what I have to say and what is super important with this game is that you experiment, you learn, you strive to learn about all the different systems that this game has, because if you don't, then you are going to be missing out on one of the most important and one of the most impactful and the most fun parts of this game, at least in my eyes. And to be clear here, I'm not trying to say that you should force yourself to enjoy something that you don't enjoy, but I am trying to say that you should at least give it a shot and then make the decision after doing that. Basically, don't let the ease of access of, just copying a blueprint that some other player made for you take away the opportunity to find out if you actually do enjoy this style of gameplay. And on top of that, don't let the game itself stop you from enjoying something, or at the very least trying it out, just because it shows 50,000 tutorials down your throat right as you're trying to get started. All I'm saying is just give it a shot. After that point, if you decide it's not your cup of tea, then okay, it is what it is. It's not for everyone, and that is completely understandable. But as someone that enjoys this style of gameplay, again, I just have to say, all I'm asking is just give it a shot. So that's just kind of like how the factory works and some of the different systems, but I think it's also worth mentioning that the materials and stuff that you are actually making for the factory, like the end goal of, the entire purpose of it, is extremely important for the rest of the game too, so that really isn't something you want to put off and just kind of forget about learning. A lot of the stuff in this game revolves around the stock market, and The stock market is built around things that you can sell and interact with in it. So for example, if I go to this guy, which is where you can control a lot of the stock market, you can buy these things and you can buy them for stock currency. Well, where do you get the stock currency, you might ask? All the way up here in the other region. This is the only one I currently have, to be clear. All the way up here in the other region where you can interact with your outpost and sell the materials you create. So if I really wanted to, all of these amethyst parts here, I could click this button and then just sell 8,000 of it, and then now I just got a whole bunch of other bills that I can go back into the stock market for and buy elastic goods to get more bills later down the line. So at least to me, this offers a really tantalizing future with the game, where I am always looking right now for the next thing that I can interact with and play around with. Like, you might not have noticed it as I came over to this new area, but this is an entirely separate factory from the one at my other base. So this is just a small setup comparatively to what I have at my other region, but even so, this is the other region to be clear, but even so, it still has valuable things. So while I might be producing amethyst bottles over at my other region, over here I'm producing these buck capsule Cs, which I can either sell to the market, or if I really wanted to, I could use this healing when I'm exploring the world and doing combat and all that other stuff. And again, I know for a fact that what I have here is barely scratching the surface of what you can actually do with the factory. Just at a baseline, I know that I am missing an entirely different ore, right? The only ores that I have right now is amethyst and then originium, but I know that there is like, I think it's ferrium or something like that. And genuinely, that is something that I am just so looking forward to, because it will unlock an entirely new slew of machines that I have to work with, set up, get the number go up feeling by collecting whatever materials I get out of them, and then using that to explore the world and to craft useful items and gear my characters and do everything else that I've been talking about in this video so far. Genuinely, I have to say that I am so excited for what the factory has brought to this game, because it is so different and so unique from every other gacha on the market, and it really does scratch so many different itches in my brain that really enjoys this kind of thing. From collecting all the different materials to producing something that actually has meaning, to giving you an entire array that you can set up and, you know, all these different machines that coexist in different ways. Like, it is just so unique and something that you just don't see anywhere else, and it is something that I am very much enjoying so far, and I hope all of you give it the chance that it deserves. Please do not write off the factory as something that's boring or confusing, or that you can just go steal someone's blueprint for and just never interact with, because there is so much that it has to offer, and there is so much that you can do with it. This game is more than just an open world exploration game. This game is more than just a combat game that involves, you know, doing combo skills and building the right team and all that kind of stuff, and, you know, working your way to endgame. This game has so much to offer with just the factory alone that it really does feel like more of a game and less of a gacha. So, to wrap up here, I have had so much fun with this so far, and I really do hope you do as well. If you want more content like this, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe, and if you haven't already, maybe go give my other videos a shot too, and I do plan on making more Enfield videos, so give those a shot too in the future.